And now we're live after the disclaimer has gone. And we're live on the EGGPod. Hello, people watching on the EGGPod. And thank you to our latest follower, Trident Power 13. Thank you for that. Hello, everybody. There's people out there. I have a very special guest with me tonight. We're going to be joined by another special guest a bit later. We're going to be joined by Brandon from Cosmic Comics. As soon as his load shedding's over, he's going to jump in and come and chat to us about some stuff. But right now with me, I have a amazing dude who is a very chatty fellow. And is our very own Sean Izaakse, who is a comic book artist and has drawn some incredibly iconic characters for Marvel, and as well as his own creation, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But he's going to be here to talk to us about, well, his comic stuff, but also about Dungeons and Dragons, because apparently Sean plays Dungeons and Dragons. Sean, welcome to the show, man.
Hi everyone, how's it going? I'm trying not to be so chatty tonight. I'll keep it low key for a while for now.
He's gonna go all low key on.
Yeah, it's good to be here. This is awesome. Hello to everybody who follows.
What's up, Kamikaze Badger? Hello, 10th Street. Welcome to the show. It's nice to have you guys in chat. Just quickly before we get into everything, we have to do our usual thing and give a shout out to our patrons, because you guys rock, and without you we couldn't do some of the cool stuff we do. So here is that list of patrons for you. We have Eggies in Zoe, and we have Uncommon Eggies in the Jolly Orange Bunny, Robert Wild, Ricardo Leone, Ratcatcher, Manfred McKechnie, Kai Lothian, Clinton Riddell. Our rare Eggies are Niels Klaassen, Ken Duff, Fist of Suns, Clayton Bucker, Christopher Crane, Christoph Swartz, Stefan Engelbrecht, and the Kamikaze Badger. You all are the Eggies knees. Once again, big shout out to all of you. Thank you for your support. It really does mean the world to us. Jumping back into our live screen where we are right now. Again, pushing buttons on the Elgato StreamdeckXL supplied to us by the Nexus. If you're interested in any cool gaming and tech deals, go and check them out. And also a big shout out to our incredible partners at Unplug Yourself, because this week, Wednesday, we have Command This right here on twitch.tv/EasyGamingGroup. And this week we are out of the box with the new pre-constructed commander decks from the streets of New Capenna, all thanks to our friends over at Unplug Yourself. So don't miss out on that on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Ish. 8 p.m.-ish. I have to always say 8 p.m.-ish for our show, Sean, and the reason is because technology, right? So there have been times where we've been like, it will happen at this time. And the minute you say it's at that time, everything falls apart. And then it's not at that time.
For all I know, I could get load shed any minute now because they haven't really been keeping to the schedule. So fingers crossed this actually lasts for the whole hour.
Absolutely, that would be cool, right?
If I get load shed, I hope you've got some backup material to talk about.
I got something. I tell you what, let's play something real quick. One of the things I want to keep people updated about before we get into our discussion about Dungeons and Dragons is the fact that on June the 4th, it's the Medieval Fair. And at the Medieval Fair, which is themed as There and Back Again this year, we, Easy Gaming Group, are going to be hosting a whole day's worth of Dungeons and Dragons sessions, all based in Middle-earth. We're using the Adventures in Middle-earth modules that came out for 5th edition D&D, and we're going to be running 2 separate adventures intermittently through the day for adults, and there's also a kiddies table as well, so just keep that in mind. Tickets are available, and just to remind you of what that's like right now, check this out, y'all. So there you have it. Tickets available at easygaminggroup.com. We have already sold out 2 or 3 sessions. I think 3 sessions are gone. So you better get in there and get those tickets if you want them. If you buy them now online, they're $50. If you go on the day, they're going to be $75. So you got to spend a little bit of extra if you're on the day. I see a Gaboonzi says, Sean with the purple heart. I don't know if that means...
one of my Destiny peeps, Destiny 2 peeps.
Well, there we go. Okay, cool. So we've got some new peeps watching. So let's talk a little bit about some D&D here quick before we get into the whole comics thing with you, Sean, although I'm pretty sure comics is the big topic. You and I had a chat a little while back. I think it was at the Morbius launch or premiere or whatever it was. And you mentioned the fact that you have a rather storied history in Dungeons and Dragons. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, I started playing D&D in like 1997, man. Like way back. Like I was in matric in high school when I started playing, or maybe standard 9, or grade 9. Sorry, like to the bigger people. But yeah, that's when we started playing. I remember I had like 3 characters like really quickly because I had like a high strength ranger that I played for like a session. Then I made a fighter pirate for like 3 sessions, and then I made a character which ended up becoming a fighter monk that I played for 12 years. And then I had like a bit of a falling out with the people I played with, and didn't play D&D for a few years, and then managed to find like another group that I've been playing with ever since, like the past 12 years or something stupid like that. Yeah. So I've had like a long, but I only started from a D&D, not I didn't play the.
You didn't play basic. You played the AD&D.
No, I didn't. And on top of that, because I didn't. Like the DM I had, he was running his own campaign type thing. Like I never got to play any of the classics. I never played like White Plume Mountain, all the like classic modules, the original Castle Ravenloft campaign. I didn't get to play that.
Sure.
We didn't play any of that stuff. So like all the guys that I play with have been playing for like many years, and they've gone through all that stuff. So they're like old hands at the original game. But they've all got like their own copies of the red box and all that kind of stuff. So
I have a book from the red box still.
So
I have the player's manual from the red box, and I have the blue book from the expert rules, and I have the players and dungeon master's guide from companion. I used to have all the way up to immortals. Don't ask me what happened to the black and the pink boxes along the way.
I mean, I have picked up. I basically just collect like the AD&D stuff. So I've got a bunch of AD&D. I've got the advanced rules. I've got the one of the things I love. Okay, so I'm slowly kind of collecting all the Ravenloft books. Ravenloft's my favorite setting. Like the gothic horror is my thing. But one of my favorite things I've got is the Forgotten Realms box set.
Oh, nice.
The great box.
Yeah.
All the Forgotten Realms material stuff in it. I do love that. I've got all that stuff, and then I have like. There's the brown like or maroon like fighter's handbook, the complete handbook of the fighter, complete handbook of the druids. I've got a bunch of those. So I'm like slowly like picking those up. My favorite thing was the Monsters Compendium. Like I love the paintings of the monsters in all of that was like they all had like this watercolor kind of look to them, and I love that book. I just paged through that. It's really pretty.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
So just on that then, so if you're into the old school kind of stuff, in terms of that, did you hear the announcement the other day? We're going to be seeing Dragonlance back in 5th edition.
I've been wanting Dragonlance for a while. I mean, Dragonlance is... Where is that book now?
Sorry, I'm just geeking out for a second. Dragonlance is like my favorite ever space in Dungeons and Dragons.
I love Dragonlance. I'm trying to see. I don't know where I'll put it because everything's still in boxes. But I've got
You got the comics?
The Dragonlance saga.
Yeah.
The first 3 Dragonlance books. I've got they collected it in like a big book, so it's all 3 books in one.
I got that. The Dragonlance Chronicles. I've got it.
I got that. Yeah.
I got it.
Yes, that one.
And I packed up my Legends, the time and test of the twins. Yesterday I put that in a box.
Yeah. So like the Chronicles. It was the first time, like, my buddy at the time, we're not friends anymore, but my buddy at the time said, I must read this, an idea about how Dungeons & Dragons works and stuff. And so that was, the Dragonlance Chronicles was like my first ever, like, fantasy reading material.
That's cool.
Type of thing that I got into. And just like everybody, when I first read it, the person you love the most is Tanis.
Of course, Tanis Half-Elven, yeah.
Tanis is the cool. But by the end of it, I was like Team Sturm.
Team Sturm, dude. Oh my gosh.
By the end of it, I was like Team Sturm. He was the driest, boring freaking dude. But by the end, I was weeping.
And then he died, and it was just like, no.
Yeah, no, I love that book. And then from there, like I got introduced into Forgotten Realms, and then I started reading like Crystal Shard and getting Drizzt books. And even in the Drizzt books, like I never liked Drizzt.
Just always seemed far too aloof for me.
He was just like so like unbeatable all the time, and he was just always complaining and stuff. So like
he's an elf. He's a doctor.
No, so the character I ended up liking the most was Artemis Centauri.
Okay, Artemis Centauri is a cool character because he is complicated.
He's so complicated and so broken.
Yeah.
And like the thing is, when he gets into a fight, he's just equal, but he's not like just it becomes almost untouchable.
Yeah.
Like Artemis kind of gets smacked around, but still comes out on top. And so, like, of all the Forgotten Realms novels that I've read, my favorites are what do they call it? Is the Soul Swords trilogy, which is literally just 3 books, maybe 4, just about Artemis and John Axel traveling together and getting into trouble.
Yeah.
And those ones are my favorites because I'm like, you see more of Artemis' backstory and how the two of them are just constantly just trying to figure out how to freaking kill each other. Like, that was cool. I love those.
Well, we got a conscript in chat says Tannis is a donkey.
Tannis is a donkey.
Apparently, Tannis is a donkey.
I mean, Tannis has his problems. But I mean, that's the thing, right? Like when I was like a teenage kid, and I was like, who's like the gruff, bearded, like loner that has to work with the group? Like that's Tannis. So you like gravitate towards it. I bet if I checked it out now, I'd gravitate towards other characters. But like,
be interesting to see.
My favorite. Yeah, I think my favorite thing, aside from the whole Sturm deal. I mean, everybody loves Raceland. Let's be real. Everybody loves Raceland. I'm just like, Raceland's kind of okay.
I was a Raceland fan. Although I must admit, I did. So this is the thing. So I remember when I was. Conscript says he said donkey because he can't say ass, but he just said ass. Anyway, so I remember reading the Legends, which was obviously the story of Raceland and Caramon and Raceland's sort of drive for power. In that storyline, and what was really interesting for me, and what blows my mind a little bit, is that at the time, I had just gotten my first LP player. I had a hi-fi system, like a Blaupunkt hi-fi system that had a record player on the top, and for some reason, the first record I had was John Bon Jovi's Blaze of Glory, which was the music inspired by Young Guns 2, the western about Billy the Kid.
Yeah.
And to this day, when I hear the song Miracle off of that album, I see that final scene where Rayston finally realizes that he can't do what he needs to do, because if he does, Caramon dies. You know, and for that memory stays with me forever. So whenever I hear that song, I'm just like, yeah, no, that's a pretty intense story if it can stick with me for that long.
You know what the sad thing is like, when I think of all those characters, if I had to create a character that, if one of my D&D characters, not now, but back then, if my D&D character was a member of the party of like the Dragonlance crew,
sure,
it would probably have been a Caramon. Caramon would probably not be my character, because I would have made like, this is the fighter, this is what he does, he's just like straightforward, like that kind of thing.
For sure.
I'm a bit more creative now that I'm older with my character. And kooky and stuff, but like after that, it's like, I think the coolest thing as well was I loved it whenever what's his name now? I'm drawing a blank. Old Death Knight guy. What's his name again? Lord Soth.
Lord Soth. Yeah.
Soth. Yeah. Whenever Lord Soth showed up, I was like, this dude is awesome.
He's such a badass.
He's so freaking horrifying. I remember, like, we played a D&D game, in my 12-year game that we played. At one point, I was like 8 levels fighter, 4 levels monk. And this was in, like, during the, like, this was when, like, 3.5 was around still.
Sure.
My character went from D&D 2nd edition, and then we brought them over to 3.3 and then 3.5. And I remember at one point, during the campaign, we were dimension hopping, and the DM says, no, this guy walks out and you hear someone say, like, he describes what he looks like, and I'm like, is this Lord Soth that's just like walked out over here? Now me and my friend, we both like, 12th level He's like a 12th level like ranger sorcerer stuff. And Lord Sarth walks out and he's like, say, is this Lord Sarth? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, okay, we're running away. We're not staying. We just turn around
Flee!
and run. We're like, no, we're not going to mess around with this guy. We shall leave. And then, I don't know if you've read it, but like, have you read it in the Ravenloft novels?
I haven't read novels, no. I haven't read the Ravenloft novels.
So there's 3 books with Lord Stride in it, right?
Yeah.
So there's one called Ice Stride, which is the first one. I can't remember the name of the second one where he meets Aslan Rex, which is the Lich, which is also freaking awesome. And then I think Aslan is the Lich is the third one. And then there's another book called Knight of the Black Rose, what it's called. And so what happens is in Knight of the Black Rose, in one Dragonlance book, I think Lord Sarth disappears. You don't see him again, and it's because he gets pulled into Ravenloft.
Yeah.
And up until that point, no one had ever escaped Ravenloft at all, ever. And literally, Lord Sarth goes there, meets Strahd, who's like the most powerful guy in Ravenloft, arguably, and literally goes into. He's like, I'm gonna get out of here, and he goes into Strahd's dungeon, where Strahd is keeping he's got a pet red dragon.
Oh, nice.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you would, wouldn't you?
Literally, Lord Sarth kills the dragon with his bare hands. Like that's what happened. The dragon grabs Lord Sarth and is like shaking him around, and the whole time Sarth is like just smashing the side of this dragon's face in with his fist until he kills it. Like, and then eventually, like at the end of the book, Ravenloft is like, yeah, this guy's too bad for us. We're gonna send him back, and they send him back to his dragon.
We'll just let him go.
Like, I loved reading that stuff as a kid. I was just like blowing my mind.
That's very cool.
I was like, no, we're gonna let you go. It's fine.
Okay, so
it just sparked my imagination so much.
I'm gonna find a segue here, believe it or not, to get us to comics, because one of the cool things that happened when D&D was in its prime when I was younger was they started doing second edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, the comic. They also did Dragonlance comics. And they did Forgotten Realms comics, of which I almost have the entire run.
Of all 3 or just the Forgotten Realms ones?
Just the Forgotten Realms. I didn't manage to get the other 2, but the Forgotten Realms, I think I'm missing 6 books. 6 of the books, and I've got the entire run, which I'm very proud of. Because the Forgotten Realms story was really, really cool, especially the closing, where they went up against the gods and stuff. I mean, it was just spectacularly cool. But it was a whole new medium to try and bring the Dungeons and Dragons world to a new audience, which I thought was quite a clever way of doing it. And I was wondering, did you ever read those? Did you ever see those comics, those books?
Don't forget the cartoon, hey? Because I used to watch the cartoon religiously.
Dungeons and Dragons with the little dungeon master. It was like this big.
Like I just thought it was a cartoon. I didn't know it was a game I could play. Like when I found that out, I was like, oh my god, how do I get a bow that shoots lightning?
Yeah, for sure, right?
My dad was like, you don't.
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, why would you give it to me? Isn't that the point? He's like, no, you get to earn it. I'm like, what?
I just want it. Just give it to me.
No,
can I roll something for it?
The comics, like I've got the hardcover collection of the Legend of Humor comics.
Oh wow! What? I didn't even know that was a comic.
Yeah, there was basically told human story in the comics. I have that. I think I saw adverts for the Forgotten Realms comics a lot.
I enjoyed.
No, was it? Or either the Dragonlance, the normal Dungeons Dragon ones, or the Forgotten Realms ones. Which ones had like one of the main characters was a samurai? It was in one of the books.
That would have been the AD&D one. The main characters in the Forgotten Realms were an elf cleric and a human paladin. They were very cool characters.
Okay, no. So the ones that I managed to get a hold of was where there was like the one character in D&D, and one of the characters in the party was a samurai, and I was like, what? A samurai in this game?
Samurai?
Yeah. I think that was just like a paladin, but they just maybe skinned him as a samurai and role-played him as a samurai.
Well, what I thought in the Forgotten Realms comics,
I did get some of those comics, but not a lot. Like they weren't around.
The paladin in the Forgotten Realms comics was actually an alcoholic. And so what was cool about him was that when you meet him the first time, Agrippa, that was his name, I can't remember his full name, or Astinus Agrippa or something like that. But you meet him for the first time and he's drunk out of his skull, and one of the people that finds him is obviously a god in disguise, who comes and sort of helps him out of the gutter and stuff and leads him off to the ship where all these people are, and he hands him over to this wizard who's going to now form this party to go on these adventures for something called the Hand of Vaprak, which was quite a cool thing. But the elf is sort of standing there, this very sort of highborn elf cleric, going like, what use is this drunken human to us on this thing? And the wizard looks up at him, and in the last frame, the last panel of the last page on the first book, the wizard sort of looks up at him and says, have you never heard the phrase, Paladin, heal thyself? And I was just like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, but I can just imagine that at the table where like eventually like you go on an adventure and like one of the party members is wounded and you're like, Paladin, heal me, and he's like, I can't. I used my freaking channel positive energy to get myself not drunk for this adventure.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, I have running late.
That would be good. But I mean, okay, so let's complete the segue and jump into comics, and just go from the point of view that how long have you been a comic book artist, man? How long have you been doing this for?
I mean, I've been trying to draw comic books like my whole life, really. Like when I was a kid, I was drawing comics at the back of class instead of paying attention to like math. which is why I got the double G for my maths at the end of high school.
So good game, GG.
Good game. Yeah, actually, yeah. Good game. Good game. Well played.
Well played, Sean. Well done.
You're terrible, but well, good game. And then, like after high school, like every job I had, like I would work during the day, whether it was, working at a little CD record store during the day and then drawing at night, or going to graphic design college in the evenings, or working, kind of doing design work at a company. In the evenings, I was always sitting drawing something, whether it was character design, just trying to come up with comic book ideas. But I think it really sort of started in 2010 when I lost my job. Basically got rid of the whole design department except for like 2 people. And then I was like, well, I must, trying to get another job was going to be difficult, and I wasn't sure I wanted to do that, so I thought I'll carry on working comic stuff. So like I did odd jobs and stuff, but like that was the start of me working on some online comics, working on a lot more local comics. I did some corporate comic books as well. And then eventually we did the Kickstarter with my buddy Vito, and we came up with Stray and brought that comic out. And then also going back to like D&D type stuff, and that's also when I ended up getting the gig of working in Pathfinder for Dynamite.
Well, there you go.
And working on the Pathfinder comics. That's where I met Jim's Up. And pretty much that's sort of started the ball rolling, and then like a couple of years later got the gig at Marvel, and so it's been about. So I've been working with Marvel since like 2016. It's been 12 years since I had a like actual desk job.
That's cool.
That blows my mind. But yeah, so it's been a while. And yet I still hate my artwork, even though I've been doing it for like.
Okay, well, clearly you and the people who like your art have a bit of a disconnect, because I was just telling you earlier, I was having a look through some of the stuff, particularly the work you've done on Fantastic Four, and how much I enjoy your thing. I mean, the thing is just, the way you draw thing is just such a cool way of drawing thing. I mean, there's one of the I think it was one of the covers I saw, which was quite cool, was Thing punching the Hulk, and I mean, just the motion in that shot, the movement, and Thing's face as he's getting like smacked by the Hulk, but still ready to just bash back. That's really cool. And just on that subject, I mean, like, you've gotten to draw some really iconic characters for Marvel. I mean, that must be you must feel like you got a pretty big feather in your cap for some of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like it's a double-edged sword, of course, because like part of me is like, wow, there's this achievement, and I have like, thankfully I have like some really good friends that keep on reminding me that I've achieved stuff, because I feel like even though I'm doing this stuff, I'm failing upwards, kind of thing. It's like to myself, like I'll draw something and I'll be like, oh no, I hate it. Like I wish I had more time. I wish I was more skilled and I could have done better. But and then I beat myself up about it, and then someone's like, this is awesome and we love it. And like I remember like years ago saying, oh man, I'd love to work on a Fantastic Four book, and then I did. And now like, I mean, I've worked on Champions, I've worked on Thunderbolts, I'm working on a new Thunderbolts book, I've done one issue of Deadpool, I've done like an issue and a half of Captain America.
Yep.
I've done 3 Avengers series, and yet whenever I talk to people, the only stuff they remember about my work is the Fantastic Four stuff I've done. So it's interesting that I'm like the Fantastic Four guy when it comes to like what I've done that people remember the most.
Well, I think also, I mean, Fantastic Four is a fairly iconic sort of. It's the first family of comics, right? I mean, it's I not to put too fine a point on some of the things, but just spoiler alert for those of you who haven't seen Doctor Strange yet. You should go see Doctor Strange, because there's a moment.
You got to see Doctor Strange, and then maybe just skip to like go and get some coffee now first.
Yeah.
And then come back.
Okay, we're not going to spoil anything with Doctor Strange, but just so you know, there's a moment that you should check out based on what Sean and I have just been talking about.
I literally got a message from someone on Twitter after they saw that Doctor Strange. They were like, "Did you see that?" I'm like, "Yes, I did." So like, I've been known as that guy. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's cool.
Part of me is like, I'd love to have had like a longer run on FF.
Yeah.
As well, but I'm doing Thunderbolts now. I'm not going to complain, but like I think after Thunderbolts, I really am going to ask if I could just do like a solo character book for a while, because like since I've worked at Marvel, I've only done team books, and those are a lot of work.
Yeah, I can imagine that. It must be very different doing a team book than doing a solo character, because you've obviously got to get the nuance of each character that you're doing in that group right for your.
Yeah, I mean for several panels on a page, there's like 4 or 5 characters talking to each other, and you've got to figure out how to fit them, how to put them so that the dialogue fits. Like, I don't even get that right the first time, so I usually send my editors and stuff, and they write like a rough sketch of how I'm laying the panel out, and they'll correct me where I'm going wrong and stuff.
Sure.
So a solo character, I just have to draw like, I don't know, Daredevil perched on a gargoyle for like 3 pages. Yes, please. I'll do that. Fine.
He's looking at the city through his ear sense,
Yeah, exactly. That's 100%.
That's cool, man. Although, I mean, so out of those, I mean, so what you just said now leads me to my next question, which is it's kind of like, out of the characters you've drawn, obviously the first time you and I actually met, we were doing the launch for the PS4 Spider-Man game, and it was
PS4 Spider-Man game. Yes.
Yeah. And you were introduced to me as the Spidey guy. You were and you did. I mean, you pitched up wearing just about everything Spidey I've ever seen before in my life. I think the only thing you weren't wearing was a Spidey belt.
Yeah, I've got a Spidey belt. I do have I have a red belt with webbing all over it. I have Spider-Man sneakers, which I've worn, so they're like falling apart. Like I can't wear them anymore. I have a cardigan that I wear around the house that has like a Spidey thing on it. I have a Spidey cap. I have little T-shirts. I'm like, I've got a bunch of stuff. I've got a really cool, one of my favorite statues as well.
Spidey statues.
One of my favorite Spidey statues as well.
Oh, that is pretty cool. From what I can see, you're a little blurry, but that does look very cool.
Oh, sorry. It's because I got a crap camera.
That's pretty cool. I like that. That's a good Spidey suit. That.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, I've drawn a lot of Miles. As Spidey in Champions. Peter as Spidey, I managed to fit him in like a panel in Avengers No Road Home. He was in the Avengers Monsters Unleashed that I did, which was very fun. I got to draw him then for the first time.
Cool.
Like officially. he was actually in a couple of issues of the Fantastic Four Empire issues that I did.
Yeah.
It was him and Wolverine, which was really cool. Having a run on Spidey would be a dream gig for me as well. It's up there as one of my top 3 things to do.
So would he be your favorite character to draw? Is he your fave?
I don't know. I keep on. I mean, he is, but I haven't drawn him enough to really just make him my own.
Sure.
And often I'll draw a book, and the characters I like the least usually end up being the characters I like drawing the most. So, for example, in FF, in Fantastic Four, Johnny Storm is my favorite character, yet I can't seem to figure out how I want to draw him. So if you look at if you see him and how I draw him in Uncanny Avengers, how I draw him in Fantastic Four is quite different, because I'm still trying to figure out, I want to do something cool with him, but I just can't nail it down. I don't have time to experiment. And so I'm not Ben Grimm is cool. He's not as cool as Johnny to me, but Ben is the more fun one to draw.
Sure.
Stuff like that. I love drawing Ben, obviously. I love drawing Sasquatch from Alpha Flight.
Yep.
He's super fun to draw. So often it'll be these characters that I'm obviously I love Sasquatch, so that doesn't really apply, that he's not the character I don't like. But I think drawing monstrous characters is kind of cool. And so anybody will tell you that Captain America is one of my favorite characters. So whenever he's on a page, the page takes me 1.5 times as long to draw, because I spend so long time.
Got to get it right.
Draw Captain America. I love drawing Daredevil, the guys that have the classic kind of costumes.
Sure.
I like drawing, and I like drawing capes.
You like capes?
I like drawing capes, but the Marvel guys don't have a lot of heroes with capes and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm put me on a Thor book. I can draw red capes all day long.
I must say, it's one of the things that when I watched The Incredibles for the first time, I really had a good chuckle at, was when what's her name? Somebody mold, the chick who does their costumes for them, that wacky woman who does their outfits for them, tells them, you don't do capes because capes get you killed, and then goes through this list of superheroes who've been done in by their capes.
but for example, one of my favorite capes is Tim Drake's original Robin cape, where it's black on the one side and yellow on the other side.
Sure, yeah.
And I would just love to do a book with him where you can you don't even draw the whole cape, because he's in shadows a lot of the time, and you can just play with those
yellow.
Slivers of yellow, kind of
yeah,
hinting to your mind the shape of the cape, but you're not actually drawing the shape of the cape.
Sure.
That's the type of stuff that is fun that you can do with capes.
Okay, so if we're talking about capes, there's a guy who I got blown away by his capes, just the capes, and it's not Todd McFarlane. It was Kelly Jones, and the first time I saw him doing capes was in the Sandman comics, and he did Morpheus's cloak, and it just seemed like that cloak had a life of its own, that when you sort of looked at it, there were these spaces in it that you could go. And then they brought him into Batman to come and do a whole bunch of things around the Scarecrow, and it was just, I'd never seen them do what he did with that cape for Batman before, where he actually used it as part of the panels. The cape became rigging for holding the panels in place and stuff. It was really quite something.
But it's the same with Norm Breyfogle. The stuff he did with capes and Batman and stuff was just
Edna Mode.
Blew my little mind away.
Sorry, Edna Mode. That's her. 10th Street reminded me in chat. Edna Mode, because that's when she on Edna Mode. Yeah, man. Norm Breyfogle is a legend. I have a number of his books, particularly Detective Comics.
But also the time that I really loved. So one of my favorite cape drawing artists. He draws everything perfectly. Is the late great George Perez.
Absolutely.
And I've still got I've got a gazillion boxes. Yeah, anybody that's watching can maybe see in the background. I've got comic boxes all over there that I'm busy trying to organize, and some that I have to downsize with. I've got all the old Action Comics George Perez drew, and like the way George Perez could draw Superman's cape was just blew my mind. Like it was just like you could feel it flowing on every panel, and that's what made me fall in love with drawing capes. You know.
Okay, well, Tin Street says Darth Vader's cape is the one cape to rule them all.
I am not gonna argue. Darth Vader is super cool.
He is. He's kick-ass.
I'm like you know what the thing is? Vader is so cool, but I feel like the first movies didn't do him justice. And like, I saw the trailer for Obi-Wan, and I'm like, man, you're gonna give us like kick-ass Darth Vader in like Obi-Wan.
That would be cool.
Because I mean, like, I don't care much for Obi-Wan. Like, it's cool. Ewan McGregor's fun to watch. He's rad. But like, I want like more Vader.
Well, I mean, if I remember correctly, so there was Rogue One, Star Wars Rogue One. Yeah. So let's just put it out there right now. I'm not a fan of these latest editions of the Skywalker saga. Just not a fan at all. Also, wasn't a fan of the prequels. Thought those were total trash. But Rogue One came out, and Rogue One was a really cool movie for me. I thought it was a cool movie because it told a different Star Wars story. But what it did do as well is introduce the badass Darth Vader right at the end.
Literally the only scene I liked in the whole movie. Literally the only scene I liked in the whole movie was that one.
Yeah, that was it for you?
No, I mean that's it. I was there for that scene. I'm good. I can go home. You see, I'm the opposite. Like I didn't like the I didn't like the prequels, but the new Skywalker saga, I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I was a big fan of it. I mean, to each their own, which is fine. And the Rogue, it was an okay movie, but like Solo, I couldn't watch. Like I struggled through it. I was just like, no.
Solo was okay.
It's they got me back in with the Mandalorian. They hooked me back in.
The Mandalorian was awesome.
Cool with Mandalorian, yeah.
No,
So there's a statue. Speaking of Darth Vader, there is a statue done by the same fellas that did the Spider-Man statue, the Karachik Bros.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I slaughtered your name. I'm really sorry. And he did they did a statue for Sideshow of Darth Vader that I'm like, it is the most awesomest looking Darth Vader statue I've ever seen. And if I was going to own any Star Wars figure, it would be that. Okay. And it's basically Vader like standing there. The cape looks amazing. It's all like burnt and stuff. And you see like half his helmet is gone, his mask is kind of broken in half, and then like sparks come off his chest. And I'm like, oh man. I'm like, that's the Darth Vader I want to see.
For sure. Okay. Badger's just jumped into
like hardcore fights.
Badger jumped into chat. He says, one whole episode of Darth just going around killing people, please.
Yes. I'll buy the tickets now.
And then Tishrit says, "How'd you wished? Everyone will forever be in James Earl Jones' shadow." Except James Earl Jones wasn't Darth Vader. He was just the voice.
Yeah.
So there was a bit.
James Earl Jones is still around, right?
Yeah. He's still around. Still doing James Earl Jonesy voices.
He can still do the voice there. So that's all. Yeah, that's awesome. He should still do it.
That would be cool.
Just get like someone that's like.
Mark Hamill should forever do the Joker voice.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, that's, I mean, I don't know. So I mean, I'll watch it.
We have digressed hugely.
But I've completely skipped. I've completely skipped. What was the last one that came out? Oh, the Book of Boba Fett.
Book of Boba Fett. I watched the first episode.
I skipped that. I didn't watch it.
I watched the first episode. It didn't grab me.
Yeah.
It didn't grab me. I tell you what did grab me.
Yeah, I'm like, whatever.
I tell you what did grab me. And this has got nothing to do with comics. It's got nothing to do with... I watched the first episode of Star Trek. The new Star Trek. Called... What's it called? Star Trek? Strange New Worlds. And it is
I haven't seen it.
Exceptional.
My friends love it.
It's amazing.
They're cool. Yeah, a lot of my friends are loving it, but I'll like to...
Dude, I'm such a Trekkie, and I'm such a Trekkie of that style of Star Trek story that when this thing started, and literally like in one of the opening moments, they do that pan across to the spaceport where the Enterprise is sitting, and the camera shows you the Enterprise. I was just like, I'm such a geek.
I mean, I'll check it out. I've got a lot on my watch list, so I'll check it out.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And you know, we should. Okay, I'm just gonna say this again to everybody out there, and we've said this a couple of times on the EGGPod over the last couple of weeks. You really should watch Halo. It's a really good show. It's not very close to the games in terms of storyline because they've gone a very different route in the story, but what a good show. And the episodes that are directed by our very own Jonathan Liebesman are like exceptional. They're just it's such great television to watch. They really are. And if you haven't watched Moon Knight yet, watch some Moon Knight. That's just my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, Moon Knight was good. Moon Knight was good. I also watched it finished. It was cool. I had some issues with it myself. But overall, it was great.
Yeah.
Overall, it was great.
I think overall it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. And the performance from Oscar Isaacs is just fantastic. I thought he was great.
Oh, you see, like that's my biggest problem. Like, I'm not an Oscar Isaac fan. I was like, as much as like he definitely convinced me like about different personalities and stuff, but like he just couldn't hold me as like a leading man in the show.
Okay.
I was there more for Khonshu, man. Khonshu was like my favorite thing in the show. Well, Khonshu and Layla, of course, at the end. Layla was amazing.
Yeah.
Khonshu, loved Khonshu. He was just this like, he's just such a dick.
He is. He's a dick.
He was awesome.
He's a
dick.
dick. But that's what he was. I mean, and he didn't pretend to be anything else, which I think was quite cool. You know, he's just one of those characters who's a dick, and that's just all there is to it, really.
I think as far as the Disney shows go, I think it's probably my least favorite one was Moon Knight.
Okay.
My favorite one was Hawkeye. Like, I love the Hawkeye series.
One division for me, man.
Oh no, for me it was Hawkeye. I was like, I think it's because Hawkeye was so relatable because it was just like it was definitely a street level story which like I could get behind. You know what I mean?
Oh, I loved Hawkeye.
I'm looking forward to Miss Marvel. I'm looking forward to Miss Marvel as well. Very much looking forward.
What about
to Miss
She-Hulk?
Like, I think it's in like a month, dude. So mixed feelings about She-Hulk at the moment because I'm not familiar with the actress. So
Sure.
She's not my first choice for the part. But we'll see. Apparently she's really good. But I'm a big She-Hulk fan. I've got like 2 She-Hulk statues that I need to unpack at some point. I love like Dan Slott's She-Hulk run. It was awesome. She's such a great character. Like I'm not even a Hulk fan, but She-Hulk I like. She's awesome. She's like, it's like the reason I like Johnny Storm out of the Fantastic Four as well is because he's one of the first characters that I read about where he enjoyed his powers and enjoyed being a superhero. He wasn't like, oh, I just want to have a normal life. Oh,
yeah, Johnny was always like, look at me, I'm a superhero.
He was like, I'm a superhero. This is awesome. And She-Hulk eventually, she's like, wow, I've literally become everything. I'm hot. I'm strong. I don't have to deal with anybody's crap. I'm famous, and she was just cool. Like, she enjoyed having a power, and so I kind of gravitated towards that because, like,
it's a cool attitude.
I think that's sort of how I would be.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, they got so many things coming out that I'm very excited for, and I mean, I don't know where I'll be when those are coming around. But like every time I watch a show, I'll be like, so I watch Doctor Strange now, and I'm like, man, I want to draw a Doctor Strange book where I can just draw like crazy big things all the time. And I can also make it dark and creepy because it just fits with him. Yeah,
for sure. There's a lot of dark and creepy stuff going around though.
I mean, then I'll watch like a Thor movie. I mean, Thor: Love and Thunder. So excited.
It's gonna be fun. That movie's gonna be fun.
Dude, it's gonna be so great. I mean, like, just because, it's gonna be cool. I'm really excited, man. Marvel doesn't let me down when it comes to movies.
Sure.
That I dislike, I like. They're just like, okay, cool, I've watched it. I don't need to watch it again. The ones that I really like, I just keep on watching over and over again.
But that's the way they work. And I think that's what separates them a lot from the DC films, to be perfectly honest. I think the DC films put too much into their films.
No, but that said, it depends on the film. I think that like I hated the Zack Snyder movies.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that.
I will put it up there. I hated them. I hated them so much. Like, I did not get those characters.
No.
That said, everything afterwards, Wonder Woman 84 was. The first Wonder Woman movie, awesome.
Wonder Woman was cool. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
And
Shazam, I thought was cool.
Shazam was fun.
The Suicide Squad.
Like, a lot.
James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, man.
Dude, Batman Suicide Squad is my favorite DC movie by miles.
Yeah.
Like, and his Peacemaker series, like even non-comic fans love that show.
Reminds me, I gotta get
show.
that. I heard that's very good. I haven't seen it yet.
Have you not seen it?
Not yet.
Dude, my girlfriend was like, "Ah, I don't know, I don't want to watch it. It's the guy with the weird helmet. Like, it's so stupid. Oh, he's so stupid. And I'm like, let's just watch an episode.
Sure.
By the end of the episode, she's like, another one. Let's watch another one. And that's how it works, man. Like,
Well, Peacemaker just pitched up in
like
Swamp Thing, man. So it's like,
I'm just like, give James Gunn the keys to the DC movie universe.
yeah, no, for sure. Please
You'll
do
get that done.
inject
Like, don't give us
the
a-
right kind of
don't-
humor.
Don't give us any more Batman stuff.
Oh, are we going to talk about the latest Batman movie? Are we? Are we going to talk about because
No, we can.
because
We
I
can.
have voiced very strong opinions on this movie.
I have opinions on it. I have my opinions are that I really enjoyed it. It was an hour too long.
So it should have been a half hour
Definitely
film.
cut it down. It was 3 hours long.
No, dude, I hated it. Huh?
No, it gave me everything I wanted in a Batman movie. It gave me Batman in his suit most of the time. Thank goodness, because I hated Robert Pattinson. He was the worst thing about that movie. It gave me a guy in a bat suit. It could have been anyone. I didn't care, as long as it was in a bat suit. It gave me a nice, an atmospheric Gotham City. It gave me criminals that were afraid of the Batman. They were scared of the shadows, which is how Batman should be. They should be like, oh my god, you could be there. I love the Batmobile. Zoe Kravitz
She was the best thing in the movie for me.
Catwoman.
For me, Catwoman
Oh
was the
my
best thing in the
word.
movie.
Give
She
me
was
a
really cool.
Catwoman. Don't give me a Batman sequel. Give me a Catwoman movie with her.
Yeah, no, totally. I thought
That's
she
all right.
was spectacular.
Yeah. The thing I hated the most was still Robert Pattinson, man. Like he kept on trying to be too much like Kurt Cobain instead of just being
He was
Batman.
so whiny. So whiny.
Dude,
Just a whiny
like,
emo kid.
Like the way he spoke and the way he carried him, I was just like, man. And then like they tried to make him look buff, but then like you see the camera behind him and he's like the skin, like you cannot.
No,
put
no.
the skin
Anyway,
there.
okay. We're not. Right, so Kamikaze Badger just posted in chat saying, "I forgot we hate the Batman here." Laughed. So
No, we don't hate all Batman.
No.
We all have our own Batman that we love. Let's face it. We're gonna go watch the Flash movie for Affleck Batman and Michael Keaton's Batman. Like I don't get. Like, Flash doesn't even have to show up in that movie. They can call it the Flash. But
dude,
everybody's
they
gonna
just
get
show me
Batman.
Michael Keaton as Batman again. I'll be a happy guy. I'm okay. You know what I mean? That's cool.
Dude, I'm telling you now, why they haven't. I mean, they look. You see like movies like Blade Runner and all that kind of stuff, like a futuristic stuff. How have they not gone and done a Batman Beyond and just have Keaton as like old grizzled Bruce
Right?
Wayne and
Old
have,
grizzled
like,
Bruce Wayne.
cyberpunky looking.
Yeah, man.
looking
Oh, that would be
Batman movie
awesome.
Where he's got like
Okay, so-
high tech suit. Why are they not doing
So
that?
just on that, I
Come
told
on.
you earlier that Sean Murphy's back with the new White Knight, right? So it's called White Knight. It's called Beyond the White Knight. So guess where we are,
Oh, yeah.
right? So it's really, really cool. So if you haven't checked out any of that stuff, you should go check it out. I do see a question in chat, Tin Street Eggy saying, do we have opinions on X-Men? In terms of what? I mean, I'm sure we have many opinions on the X-Men.
In terms of what, you got to be specific. Yeah,
Yeah, you're going to have to
strong
clarify that
opinions
one
in
for us,
every
Tin
media.
Street. And just let us know in terms of what opinion are you looking for? Because I can tell you right now, I'm an X-Men fan. So apart from
I mean,
the last two movies.
I mean, if you want to talk,
Uh-oh.
like I don't want
Uh-oh.
to brag, but
Uh-oh.
like
Yowz,
I'm a
dude.
fan. Yeah.
Jeez, Zack, is that the Jim Lee art book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is I got that, and I've got the artist edition, the Jim Lee artist edition black.
That's
black
very
one.
cool. Okay, so here's the question. Do you think the whole Phoenix saga will ever be done well, or should they just give up on it?
Are you talking about like in movies?
If you're talking about in movies, I think that it's a dangerous game. I think it's been told many, many times in the books, often very well.
I think in other media outside from the comics, I think that they I mean, like we've had two X-Men movies that basically had the same storyline with Jean Grey being turning bad and doing the whole Phoenix thing. Like two movies, and they couldn't nail it down.
Yeah.
I feel like if Marvel Studios did it, they would do it properly.
I agree.
If Marvel Studios started
They'd
they would
work
do it
a way
properly
to make it happen. Although they'd also stay away
because-
from the big
because-
downfall of the first one. So in X-Men The Last Stand, which is the X-Men movie, in my opinion, that never happened, is also the only film I've ever physically got up and walked out of. And I got up and walked out at a very particular point, and it was at the point where Jean Grey killed Professor Xavier. Now, whether the Dark Phoenix was in charge or
you didn't
not,
see how bad it got after that. That's a shame.
whether or not Dark Phoenix was in charge of the body makes no difference, because somewhere in there is Jean Grey, and Jean Grey would never hurt Charles Xavier ever. So
Charles is a bit of a tool, and I'm not a fan of Charles. But anyway,
I'm just saying,
yes.
that's the relationship. So when that happened, I was like,
Yeah.
this is stupid, I'm leaving.
the way the Marvel's first 10 years or like has gone, where like you had Thanos like at the end and that's beating and stuff. I feel like Marvel Studios would do something like that. They would have like 3 X-Men movies, they have some X-Force movies, maybe New Mutants and stuff, and it would all be this ongoing lead for like 8 years before the Phoenix arrived, took over Jean Grey, and then everybody had.
That could work. I mean, that would work, and I think that is something that they would do.
That's like you've got 8 years of people investing in these characters, so they would want it to hit as hard as possible at the end for the people that don't know it. I think that they would nail it down because you've invested in these characters.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's what's
It's
worked
like,
so well for
let's
Marvel.
just shoehorn this thing in twice.
I think that is what's worked so well for Marvel over the last 15 years of Marvel Studios and doing what they're doing, the 20 years or whatever it is now. But I think again they're starting to do that now with this new range of films that are coming out. We're starting to be introduced to new aspects of things, showing little bits of this, that we're going to start realizing what's going on, and if the big villain that's coming is who's being hinted at, I think that is, it's going to be a necessary thing again. I mean, I remember watching that first Iron Man, and was it in Iron Man? I think it was in Iron Man. I can't remember. It was in, anyway, the first of the sneak peeks at Thanos in the post-credit sequence. And I remember seeing that and going, holy crap, that's Thanos. And
That's just the end of Avengers.
yes, it was the end of Avengers. That's right. And you got to see Thanos for the first time, and I was just like, when I saw that, I was just like, oh, this is going to be bad.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like, and that's the thing, is like they keep you on your toes, man. I love that Marvel Studios do that. They lead you one way, but like they do another turn. You don't necessarily see it coming.
Yeah.
And like they just keep you on your toes. And I mean that's what the problem between America Civil War and Batman vs Superman is. By the time Captain America Civil War has come around, you've had like a few Iron Man movies, you've had a few Captain America movies, you've had a few Thor movies, you've had an Avengers movie, or you've had 2 Avengers movies. So you follow these characters.
So you know them.
Years. And you're like, this is cool. And now they fight each other. So you feel like, oh man, like I don't know who I'm rooting for, kind of thing. Whereas like Batman vs Superman, it's like, oh, these guys literally just met. They have a fight for like maybe 3 minutes long.
Oh, and then they found out that their mothers share a first name.
Oh god, don't
That changes
get
everything.
me started. you don't have the time for me to rant about that. But also, like, you don't have time for me to rant about the X-Men movies because I didn't like it in the X-Men movies.
I liked the
Like,
first
the
two.
only-
I thought Bryan
for-
Singer's
for
movies
me,
were pretty good.
I liked the first X-Men movie because it was the first X-Men movie.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But everything else after that, I was like, no. For me, the best X-Men movies were Deadpool 1 and Deadpool 2. Those were amazing. Those were awesome.
I
that's
dug
my-
Deadpool. I thought the first one was way better than the second one, but yes, I enjoyed the Deadpool movies.
I agree, but Domino stole the show in the second one, 100% as well.
Fair enough. And Cable came around, so that's pretty cool.
Cable was cool. Yeah.
I mean, so for my thinking, right? I mean, if you were going to introduce the X-Men into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I don't know. I mean, I've always thought like a cool way to do it would be to like do a series of X-Men movies based around the Age of Apocalypse, where the X-Men cock everything up.
Everybody. No, you see, everybody would like a lot of people would say that, but the thing is, like, before you do an Age of Apocalypse, you need to establish what the X-Men timeline is normally before you can see how messed up it could get. So you need to have that established. This is how it is. Sort of like What If. You need to have like an established.
Fair enough.
This is how the X-Men run before you can see like, oh my god, this is what could happen. What could have happened, or this is how it is somewhere else.
Sure. But you see, that's why that X-Men Apocalypse movie was so bad.
It was awful. I'll get to that in a second. I'll get to how racist that movie was in a second. So a friend of mine, Cliff, since Age of Apocalypse, he has forever hated Colossus. Like, it ruined Colossus for him. Did you read what happened in Age of Apocalypse with Colossus?
The movie or the story or the books?
In the comics.
Yeah, no, I've read the whole thing.
When Colossus basically lets Kitty Pryde die.
Yes.
He lets everyone die.
Yes.
Pretty much since then, my buddy's just hated Colossus. He's like, Colossus is the worst character.
But that was a different Colossus.
I know. Okay, so no, the X-Men Apocalypse movie is so super racist and cuck.
Yeah.
Because they pick the three characters that have the most boring freaking visuals to focus on for the entire movie. You got Wolverine. Yeah, Hugh Jackman's great. Don't get me wrong, he's great and he's got the claws, which is cool. Then you have Charles and Magneto, who just kind of stand around going. Their visuals are boring as hell, and they're like three white guys. All the awesome characters from Iceman, Warpath, Sunspot, Blink, all of those characters
Blink, dude,
that are in another timeline, they all get killed. All the cool characters that are also non-white all get killed.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is that movie was boring. Like I was like, the characters I want to see you off in like a few minutes, and then I'm watching a bunch of even like right at the end, dude. The big fight scene is a big talk fest.
Yeah,
like,
no, listen. To be honest, I can't remember much of the film.
No.
I know I saw it,
boring.
but I honestly I think I blanked a lot of it out of my mind because it was just that bad. What I did remember was Blink, and I like Blink from the Phalanx Covenant, because there was that whole build up in the Phalanx Covenant where Blink was just the most amazingly cool character. She was so cool,
Great.
But anyway, sorry, you mentioned something just now that I want to ask you about. Did you see the New Mutants?
I did.
What did you think?
And I don't think I've seen a movie waste so much potential before ever.
Right? I mean, it had such a cool idea.
So much potential, but I mean that movie was in like development hell for like 3 years or something. They chopped it up and then re-chopped it up and then filmed stuff and re-chopped it up again, and you can see that in the story.
Yeah.
Like there's obviously a narrative and a story they were trying to tell, but like constant cutting and stuff. I mean, when you eventually get it, it's just this mess.
Yeah.
Like the characters are cool. I also love that it embraced like the horror side of stuff. It's really cool. Like their powers. Cool. Some of the actors I wasn't really like. I wouldn't have picked them for those characters. Cannonball specifically, I'm like, that guy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, whatever.
Cannonball was
What's her face? Wolfsbane. Her acting just was above everybody else's. 100%. Check that actor as Wolfsbane. Her acting was just so superior to everyone else's in it. And like you saw who the villain was like a mile away.
Sure.
But like the look of the movie. And the way that they did their powers and the way magic looked, very, very cool, but so much wasted potential.
Yeah.
Like they should have just had like a decent person like write the story and just be like,
James Gunn. They should have just given it to James Gunn.
Not predictable. Eh?
They should have just given it to James Gunn.
Or Sam Raimi.
Sam Raimi.
I mean, you probably would have had Bruce Campbell being like one of the
one of the orderlies.
One of the nurses, the orderlies, yeah. He's like being a dick to everyone kind of thing.
Telling people to clean up their mess. Clean up your mess.
They just didn't have any confidence in that movie, and like the constant cutting and recutting just gave you a mess that was very incoherent and was just like every time you cut to a different scene, it was just so jarring and like you're like, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
No.
it's a
much
pity.
potential,
It would be nice if these see, but this is why Marvel must now take back all the licenses and stuff, and they must just do the things they need to do to bring the people to where we want them.
I mean, dude, they put the troll in a movie. Can you handle it?
Yeah.
Put the troll. Like, they are digging deep for some of this. One of the things that I can't wait to see is what they're going to do with the Black Knight. I'm a big Black Knight.
Well, that was interesting. That was we heard the Black Knight came in at the end of
Eternals. Yeah.
Eternals, yeah.
He was talking to Blade of all people as well. So,
see,
like,
that I'm interested in the Blade thing. Listen, don't get me. First of all, let me just take a step back and say that the first two Blade movies. I'm not going to talk about the third one because I don't want to. But the first two Blade movies, particularly, I mean, number one for me was really cool. As Stephen Dorff as the bad guy was just fantastic. Wesley Snipes as Blade was amazing. Chris Christopherson as Whistler. I mean, these things were just cool, right? And then to give the second one to Guillermo del Toro, I mean, that was just a stroke of genius. Because Blade 2 for me was just so cool. It was just so Blade.
They were very cool, but I am a fan of the third one. But
why?
That said, a lot of it doesn't make sense because my girlfriend hasn't seen those three movies until like a month ago when I made her sit down. We did like a three Blade movies kind of thing, and she also loved them. Didn't like the third one. But like when we watched the third one, you're like, wow, the writing is really bad because nothing makes sense. You're like, why are they doing this? Why don't they? Yeah. And like the worst thing about it is Blade in that whole movie, because Ryan Reynolds and
Dracula. He's quite terrible.
Dracula was. I mean, like, okay, so like, I mean, Ryan Reynolds and what's the chick's name again? Whistler's daughter. I can't remember the name of the actress.
Sure.
Watching the two of them was awesome. They were great. But Wesley Snipes had lost the plots by that movie.
Yeah.
And he was like, but also like, there's a scene where they go and question the one doctor about Dracula, and they walk in. And Dracula is like standing there, but he looks like the doctor. And then they're like, it's him. And he changes back into Dracula. And then he starts running across rooftops and then steals someone's baby to hold over the rooftop to threaten Blade. And I'm like, you're Dracula, dude.
Yeah.
You're like the most dangerous person on the planet. Why are you running away when you could clearly just take the three of them in the room? And then why would you feel the need to like, I just took a baby. You're like,
a baby.
If you're so confident that you're such a badass, why are you not just beating the
give me the baby?
No, you're like, I want the baby as a hostage. I'm like, what?
Keep your money. Just give me the baby.
No, that doesn't even no.
No, listen. There were so many problems with Blade 3, but listen, I'm really hoping they do a nice job with the reboot of Blade. I'm happy with the choice of actor. I think it's going to be really cool. So I'm hoping that comes through and comes off the way that I hope it comes off, because I am a Blade fan.
And if Blade comes, if they lead into the horror stuff, they could have Blade and Doctor Strange.
We could bring in some proper Ghost Rider.
If they bring in like a really cool Ghost Rider, that'd be rad. You know what? They should just bring in Man-Thing as well. Like, why not? Let's have like a big monster type.
It's like a monster fest.
Marvel character.
Monster fest.
Like, if you think about it, you got like Groot and all that stuff, but you want like a nice monster in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. Man-Thing. Well, I suppose Man-Thing was like their version of Swamp Thing, I guess. But yes, definitely leaning more into the horror side of life, and I think it's not a bad place to go for some of the Marvel stuff.
I mean, if you think about it, maybe Man-Thing will show up because isn't Man-Thing's big deal that he's a protector between dimensions to Earth or something like that? I feel like that could be. I feel like that's part of his gig.
I feel like they're kind of leaning towards that splitting between multiverse universes and dimensions thing. I don't know what gave that away, but I think that might be a thing.
I don't know, maybe it's that last Spider-Man movie that was so freaking awesome.
Yeah, right? That was just the coolest movie.
That's the greatest superhero movie of all time.
Okay, so hold on. So now we sort of gone a little bit over time, but I do want to pick your brain on an idea, and I'm going to go back to a conversation you and I had off air before we started this. So the big event in DC Comics right now is about to take place. It's Dark Crisis. First issue is out. You can go get your hands on it. We were hopefully going to be joined by Brandon from Cosmic Comics to talk a bit about this, but unfortunately his power hasn't come back on yet after load shedding. So he's not able to join us right now. But the big thing that's happening in the DC universe is the Dark Crisis. Dark Crisis is upon us. And what that means is that within the storyline of Dark Crisis, DC is killing off the current Justice League. This is not something that hasn't happened before, but it's still a fairly big deal if you think about it. They're killing off some pretty iconic characters in terms of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash. All the members of the Justice League will die in Dark Crisis, but they're going to be replaced by new versions of those heroes. And you said something to me earlier that I thought was quite interesting. So if there are any Justice League fans out there, what we were talking about was what's interesting in the Justice League. And Sean said that up to now, up to the sort of point of the Justice League, having been with these characters for as long as we've been with them, we've kind of read all their stories. We know who they are and what they've done and this kind of thing. And the thing you mentioned that was exciting for you was these new versions of these characters. What is it that you're looking forward to from these new versions?
So, I haven't picked up a Justice League comic in a while. Like, I've got a couple of trades that I picked up that I haven't read yet because work. But I will get to them. And like the ones that I have picked up that are more modern and more recent of the Justice League, I picked up mostly because the artwork just looked phenomenal, and I wanted to read. I wanted to page through the book because of the artwork. But other stories that I've seen have really grabbed me, and that's not to say that the stories are bad. I just said they didn't grab me because as a 40-year reader of comic books, like I feel like I've read most of my favorite Justice League comics I've already read when I was younger. When Grant Morrison and Howard Porter were doing the Justice League, like some of those stories, like the moments in those stories, I don't think they can be topped. That they'll stick in my memory as much as anything new. And like I've been with these characters, you kind of know like how they you know their relationships, you know all that kind of stuff. And so for an old reader like myself, I'm like, oh cool, like I've read all that stuff, but like it's nothing particularly new. But like this new Justice League that's going to come out of this, it's very interesting to me because you don't know the character dynamics. It's got the I still need to learn their names, but basically like the new Wonder Woman, the new Batman, the new Superman and stuff. And it's just like I want to read about these characters because this is like how are they gonna? I mean, we already know that our regular Justice League can handle anything that happens, and easy. They're like a well-oiled machine.
Except apparently the Dark Crisis.
Except during the Dark Crisis, which I mean, I'll got the issue. I'll hopefully read it tomorrow. I didn't know it was homework for today, but my dog ate it. So like I want to see these new characters and how like what their relationship's going to be like. How are they going to be? I mean, part of the stuff that I loved about the DC characters was when it wasn't just every day was like a big threat, a big universal threat. Also, like, when I think it was during the Grant Morrison run when Connor Hawke joined the team and the whole team got kind of beat, and he was trying to figure stuff out and trying to establish himself as the new Green Arrow, and Justice League International, where it was like a bit more like low key, bunch of guys trying to figure stuff out. And, just kind of goofing off, being like, oh, we're the Justice League, but we're just going to sit around eating Oreos. Like, the Justice League we know are like the big guns that are going to solve everything. And now we have like these new guys who are in these new roles. I want to read about how like they are carrying those mantles, and how are they going to work as a team? Where's the friction going to come? Who's going to play off of each other? Like that kind of stuff while they're fighting is what makes them cool. One of the things that I always loved about like the big three, like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, was how like they always called each other by their first names because they were friends.
Yeah.
Like I think I started losing interest in Justice League as well when Batman started just becoming the dick to everybody. He wasn't always like that. He was kind of aloof and kept to himself, but he wasn't always like being an a-hole to everyone. And when that started being his default setting, I was like, oh, I don't want to really read about him in this because I like when he's kind of together with them or working by himself. But the new characters and stuff, like I want to see their stories. Like I haven't picked up their comics. I picked up the new Wonder Woman stuff. I love that character; is really awesome. Obviously, Superman's kid who's taken up the mantle of Superman is really cool.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, I love that people are getting more represented by these characters, especially by big name characters. You know, as growing up as a white straight dude, like I could pick up any comic and I'd see people that were like me all the time. That like informed me growing up, and I was like, this is cool. Like I can see myself as, you know, Bruce Wayne or, you know, Iron Fist or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And like I feel like everybody needs that. And like we're finally at a stage where like it is being recognized, and now people can, you know, like some little gay kid can sit there and he can pick up a comic about Superman, a guy that's like the strongest person on the planet, and he's helping people. And
Or Green Lantern.
Or Green Lantern, you know, or like whatever, like, you know, or, you know, someone that's, you know, whatever, like no matter what your gender, your race, you must see yourself in these characters.
Yeah,
and I mean,
absolutely.
Like the straight white dudes that are getting pissed off, like calm yourself down, bro. The comics with your characters are still around.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
There's still many straight white characters in the freaking comics, so just calm yourself.
Easy, calm your roll.
And be happy for other people for a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like that's things. And when those guys get pissed off, I'm like, you know what? You've lived a life full of this privilege of having all these characters to choose from. You know, you've had your time. You can sit back and relax. If you're hating the current storylines, you can go back and reread your comics.
Yeah, no one's forcing you to read them.
A different comic with some straight white guy. There's tons of choice, man. Like you know, like it's crazy. Like Clark Kent is still around, and like you should have been collecting comics long enough to know that, you know, the Justice League are dying now, but you know they're going to come back. So like maybe just if you don't like the stuff, the Justice League that's going to be around now, just maybe skip a year or a couple of years or a couple of issues. Back,
you know.
And come back.
We got a comment from Badger. Kamikaze Badger says, I think that's why Spider-Man is such a great hero, and I loved him growing up because we can all dress like him and it doesn't matter what we look like.
Exactly, and now Miles is out as well. I mean,
exactly.
that was the whole point of Into the Spider-Verse. Like at the end, it's like anybody.
Just one of the coolest movies ever.
It is, and that's awesome. You know, like I'm all for people. Like people need heroes, man. Everyone, not
Everyone
just
needs heroes. Everyone needs heroes, and I think that's why I am drawn to the things that I'm drawn to in terms of the comic books I read, the games I play, and the movies I watch, because I believe very firmly that everyone needs heroes, and we all need something light to look up to. There's got to be some light that we can all sort of aspire to reach. And if
life is hard enough, man. Real life is hard enough.
Yeah, and we need the outlet. So that's where I think we're going to leave it for tonight. That's a positive note that we're going to leave the show on, which is cool for me.
Awesome.
But before we go, just want to remind.
Oh God, is there more?
No, just quick reminder to everybody. Wednesday night we're here for Commanders. Get your Magic the Gathering Commander fix on right here at 8 p.m. ish. on twitch.tv/Easy Gaming Group. We are doing the Streets of New Capenna pre-con commanders straight out of the box, and then thanks to our amazing sponsors for the 350 Rand upgrade at Top Deck, we're going to be running that upgrade deck in about 2 weeks time, where some of the players will have had that $350 voucher from Top Deck, where they're able to go and buy some new cards, upgrade the deck a little bit, make it a bit more powerful, and come swing it at you. So check out Top Deck at store.topdecksa.co.za. I think I got it right, Rob. Please don't shoot me if I got it wrong. But you can check out some cool sealed and singles products there. On top of that, to our partners, Unplug Yourself again for supplying us with the decks for Wednesday night. We're really, really excited. We can't thank you enough. To Sean for joining us this evening, taking some time out of your unpacking schedule. As we can see, you're very far advanced in that.
Yeah, that's why I've got the camera facing this way. I've got like a shelf that I just packed. Everything else, this is just boxes. I get reminded about it every day that I need to unpack them.
But thank you, man, for joining us. Thank you for taking the time. We've had this in the sort of pipeline for a while, but you've managed to come through and make it happen. So thank you so much. I'm sure that people here appreciated it. There's a lot of good night yawls, and thanks for a great show. Awesome, cool things. Stabby Rogue Games says, thanks for the stream. It's an absolute pleasure. That's a very cool name. I like Stabby Rogue Games. That's cool. But yeah, man, I'm sure, Sean, I actually have some plans to rope you into some D&D adventures in the future. But I'll speak
I
to you
have
about
like
that.
30 D&D characters just waiting to be pulled out.
Oh, there we go. See, I'm already liking this idea. We can chat offline about that as we go. For the rest of you, everybody out there, as I've said before, after my experience with COVID, pro tip, don't get COVID. It's just
not a fan. I've had it.
it's not a thing you want to do. It's just, you know.
Out of all the diseases you want to get, it's definitely not one of those.
Yeah, no. And we got Megatron's cousin. We got Deltagron. So, you know, just beware, be safe. Just follow the rules and don't get this disease. It's not worth it. It lingers. I've still got a sinus stuff going on, and it's not great. So yeah, stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate every single one of you for the support and watching the show. To our patrons again, thank you guys for the support you give us. We got things in the pipeline for you once more. So keep it locked right here on twitch.tv/Easy Gaming Group. Sean, thank you so much, and good night, everybody. Cheers. And now we hit the button.